Let me know if this has ever happened to you. Have you ever gotten into a heated debate to the point where you wanted to punch the other person in the face? Or looked in the comment section of an Instagram post and want to block people because of their incredible ignorance? Now you might be asking, what does any of this have to do with Demon Slayer or any anime? This may not seem like very relevant topics, but I promise that by the end of the video, it'll all make sense. Maybe. Or at the very least, you may understand where I'm coming from, which is the entire point. What is up? Roger here. If you're an anime fan, there's no way you don't know about Demon Slayer. And if you don't know about it or anime, I think you're in for a real treat if you're open to trying something new. But I do have a disclaimer that there will be spoilers for topics for season 1 and 2 of the anime. But before I continue this video, I need to come correct and keep it 100.
That's better.
Early into the Demon Slayer series, I would recommend it to people based on production quality alone. But as the series continued, I started to find the story and main character, Tanjiro, to be really compelling. And I think him and the story can be extremely relevant to our current times. And to understand the relevance, we need to talk about the world of Demon Slayer. In this world, there are demons that are similar to vampires in the sense that they can't be out in the sun, but unlike vampires, only one demon can create other demons. Kimetsu Muzan. Muzan is the original demon that has absolute control over all the demons he's created. When Muzan turns people into demons, they take on a murderous instinct to kill and devour humans. They are more incentivized to do this because the more humans they consume, the stronger they get. And that's especially important for them because in the world of Demon Slayer, Slayers exist to fight and slay the demons. Demon Slayer, written by Gotoge Koyoharu, is considered a shounen anime. Shounen works usually have some kind of battle element with young protagonists fighting and training to be the best at something or strongest in the world. Even though Demon Slayer fits perfectly into that category, I think there's a ton of value in the lessons that we can learn from the writing in the story. And the reason for that is Kamado Tanjiro. I believe Tanjiro is one of, if not the best, role model in shonen anime. And to go into that topic, I'd like to quote Sun Tzu, "To know your enemy, you must become your enemy." I think this quote is probably one of my favorite of his because it's not about fighting or battling, but about empathy. The story of Demon Slayer does something interesting where it gives you a glimpse into a demon's backstory. We don't usually get to learn much about bad guys, especially random one-offs, but learning of a villain's backstory adds complexity to the character, making them feel more real and believable. And in the biggest fight of season 1, we are introduced with the worst villain to date in the show. He's easily shown to be the most cruel and unlikable because of how he treats the demons he's forced to be in his family. And then he tries to steal Nezuko to add to his fake family collection. Obviously, Tanjiro was like, "Not up in here!" But at the conclusion of the fight, you get a flashback of Rui's life from when he was human. And you see that he was a weak child with the same unfortunate haircut, even as a human. He was so frail since birth that even walking was a struggle. He only became a demon because Muzan was able to promise him a strong body. And as a child who could never play with other kids previously because he was literally physically unable to run, the quality of life as a demon probably looked very appealing, especially if his life expectancy wasn't looking great to begin with. And as we see as a theme in some animes, like the one mentioned in my Goku video, shortcuts to power generally aren't ideal paths to take. And something that's very important to note as an aspect to becoming a demon is that they eventually lose their memories from when they were human. And that says a lot about what it means to be human. Having memories of your upbringing and the loved ones that shaped who you are a big part of what makes us human. And now I want to fast forward into the next season for the flashiest battle of the series to date and the most powerful examples of empathy Tanjiro is displayed in the show. Daki and Gyutaro were a sibling pair of powerful demons. They were born into poverty and treated as a curse and liability their entire lives. They did what they needed to do to survive only to meet a devastating end. One day, Gyutaro comes back to witness his sister had been burnt alive. Daki, his only living family, who he has essentially raised since birth, left for dead on the street. And in Gyutaro's agony, we see Daki breathe, cling to life. This experience is not unlike what Tanjiro experienced in episode 1. Tanjiro comes home to find his entire family massacred and Nezuko near death. But the biggest difference is what happens next. While Tanjiro and Nezuko are saved by Giyu, who we later see as a Hashira, the highest rank in the Demon Slayer Corps, Gyutaro and Daki encounter Doma, one of the most powerful demons in the series. Giyu reprimands Tanjiro's non-productive, irrational behavior and directs him down a path to train to become a demon slayer. Doma turns the less fortunate siblings into demons. Yutaro and Daki's flashback is the most backstory we've seen of any demons at this point in the series. And Tanjiro has a self-awareness and empathy to see that under specific circumstances, him and Nezuko could have turned out just the same as them. Tanjiro and Nezuko came from a big, loving family that lived a simple, happy life in the mountains, where the demon siblings did whatever they could to survive in the slums of the Red Light District. Tanjiro is very different from any other demon slayer because he sees demons as much more than murderers and monsters. There's a pattern that the story shows where demons have a flashback into their previous life as a human before they turn to dust, returning to them a small shred of humanity that they'd lost for years, decades, or even centuries as a demon. And Tanjiro can sense their humanity in their final moments. Whether it's sadness, regret, or even relief from their dark circumstances, he recognizes that they're tragic creatures whose life as a demon was primarily forced upon them. This doesn't dismiss the atrocities they've committed, but he can still empathize and feel that bit of humanity in them before they're gone. Looking at the current state of the world, you don't have to look very far to see how polarized society is. And depending on what internet algorithm you fall under, you could be getting exposed to very different sources of information and viewpoints as someone across the country or even across the street. I'm sure more than a handful of you have participated in your own battles, either in a face-to-face debate or as a keyboard warrior. And when emotions are high, we forget that there's a human on the receiving end of our words, opinions, or even our thoughts. It's so easy to judge someone based on who they follow online, what news station they watch, or maybe even what color hat they wear. Demonizing people has become second nature to us, but we're not facing demons that have slaughtered or devoured people. And we easily forget that if we were in their shoes, we would probably feel very similar to the way they do. To know your enemy, you must become your enemy. Emphasizes the importance of understanding your opponent's perspectives and way of thinking. And for clarity, that doesn't just apply to enemies. I'm sure plenty of friendships have been lost based on a post or comment that someone witnessed on social media without any effort to understand where they're coming from. It takes a ton of empathy and humility to step outside of our biases and to take on a different perspective. Kamado Tanjiro is not only an excellent role model as a protagonist in a shounen anime that endures rigorous training to kick ass in battle, but also a great example of the kind of empathy and humility we need in our lives. We can all learn something from his ability to see the world from multiple perspectives and the kindness he has for those considered to be his enemies. So if you're a fan of Demon Slayer, I hope you enjoy this analysis of the story. And if you haven't watched it, I hope you consider checking it out. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the show. Let me know in the comments, like the video if you did, consider subscribing and checking out some of my other videos on the channel. Until next time, later.